We are off. Finally. I've been waiting all morning. Sean worked this morning, so I packed and got ready. And we're leaving in a storm.
Spin it around so they can see the storm.
Yes. So check out the storm. So it's pretty crappy driving. I think it gets better as you get south.
It was raining where I was. Look at the trees falling down.
Yeah.
From the weight of the
ice. Yeah, it looks pretty crappy. So we stopped and got McDonald's. It's our normal go-to. Grab McDonald's on our drive, and we share. What's our McDonald's go-to meal?
Well, I don't know if the numbers change everywhere, but it's number 9, 2 cheeseburgers. It's a number 9 large with a Diet Coke and an extra cheeseburger. Runs you about, I think it was like $7.
So yeah, we each get a cheeseburger, but then Sean gets an extra one for himself.
The best gourmet cheeseburger you've ever had. I would challenge you to find me a better burger.
And we split a large fry and a large Diet Coke. So that's our traveling McDonald's go-to meal.
It's amazing.
All right, so we're on the highway. We're heading to Tuthilltown Spirits Distillery, and it's about a 2-hour drive, and it's south of us again.
3-hour drive in this weather.
Yeah, it's going to be about 3 hours in the weather. And we are actually heading a little bit early because we are going to check in. We're staying overnight. We're going to check in to, what's the name of the place that we're staying at again? Resort World.
Catskills.
Yes. And kind of get our stuff together, whatever.
Lose some money.
Lose some money. We'll see. And then we're heading over to the distillery. So that is what we are up to today. Alright, so we are here. It's windy today. This looks like this is the restaurant area, and it's right on a grist mill. And I think we're heading up to the tasting room, which is up here.
So we're at Tuthilltown Distillery. That building right over there is where this whole small region gets its name. It was erected in 1788 by a guy named Sailor Tuthill. It's a grist mill. It was the longest functioning grist mill in New York State. This building ends up being a good part of the reason that we are a distillery. If you guys want to start taking a walk around,
yeah,
we'll show you
for sure.
Production.
Okay.
This is where everything begins for us in this 21-ton grain silo. This is where all of our primary grain is going to be loaded. It all comes from local farms. So the only thing that is not sourced in New York is our malted barley. Right now there's not enough barley farms in New York. We don't quite have the climate to supply an entire distillery. So we have 21 tons here, and we're going to weigh it out in the smaller silo here to 5,700 pounds. So each batch of bourbon or rye, whatever you're drinking, is going to be 5,700 pounds of grain, pushed back through the auger and into the building, where it is much less cold. As we go through this, it's very important to keep in mind that these are 2 guys that started this whole thing from nothing, and then recently our benevolent Uncle Willie came and sponsored us up.
Modernized a little bit.
Helped us out very much, because there's a lot of improvements that have happened. To wit, this office is pretty much brand new. This just came in earlier last year. What used to stand here was our second cook tank, which was not for, it was only 1,000 gallons. It was not for cooking grains. It was actually a pasta sauce cooker. So you could look in there and it would say tomato, basil, garlic, whatever your layers were. And we used that thing for probably 10 years. One of the first things that William Grant got for us was our 3,000 gallon cook tank. This was very, very important. Immediately tripling our production. Cooking for around 6 to 8 hours, depending on the weather, depending on how everything works out with our pH balance and things like that. And then we're going to run it through this machine here, which is a heat exchanger. So we're going to we hook all of these different tubes over here, these pipes, and it's going to run back and forth through the heat exchanger and actually in and out of the cook tank the entire time. At the end of the cooling process, it's going to go all the way up through that silver pipe up there and across this way. So this is the still house right here. So we're actually going to go out the way we came.
Back in? Okay.
We purchased on eBay. It came with no instructions. So we had to, this is about its third iteration as a still. It's been moved around the property quite a bit over the years. So initially it was offset column and all the way up.
Okay.
But this is the joy of having one of your founders be a electrical engineer, is that wherever it had to go, he found a way to make it fit, essentially. So this is what we used to run everything. This used to be the corn, the vodkas, the eau de vie we used to do, gin, used to do rums. Now it's just used every so often for either experimental stuff or our vodkas and gins.
Oh, okay.
This is where we are distilling all of our whiskeys. Copper pots, believe it or not, across the board, this is a copper pot still. I know it doesn't look like it. Remember before we talked about the pasta sauce cooker?
Yep.
This was the actual first cook tank. This came from a derelict candle factory. This used to just melt candle wax all day long where they would blend their colors. So there's no agitator in here. So when they got this thing, they would have to just stand over this port and have it open with a giant oak paddle. And just stir and stir and
Where's the oak paddle?
that's what I said. They should put it on a plaque somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, and
Should
like
name a bourbon after it.
right? Yeah, the oak paddle.
The oak paddle.
Yeah.
I'd drink it. Yeah. We have two stills which are running our stripping runs right now. So this is where we're actually pulling the liquor off of the mash. And these other two stills are going to do our rectification. So this is where you're doing your cuts. This is where you're doing your heads, your hearts, your tails. The larger distilleries have big fancy supercomputers. We have this guy. This is an Anton Farr density meter. So you're just going to put it into your sample, push the plunger, and it pulls your sample into this chamber, and it actually reads the density of the liquid, which converts it to an insanely accurate proof reading. The two different shapes of our
I was just going to ask that, yeah.
Fantastic. So these are the two guys that are doing our stripping, right? Now this one is a traditional Scottish gooseneck still.
Okay.
This one behind you is a pot column hybrid, but we actually bypass the column entirely. We want it in the pot, sitting on all that flavor, getting all those oils and enzymes and proteins and whatnot. What comes out of these stills, because of the way that those particles reconglomerate as they come down as liquid again, will actually have a different flavor profile. So once we run those, we'll run them each into their own separate rectification stills. We will fill one of these cubes from each still, and then each barrel gets filled evenly from two separate cubes. So you're getting the taste profile out of each still equally in each barrel. Baby
Gotcha.
Yep. This is where we used to do all of our bottling up until May of last year. Bottling is now the only part of this process that is not done on site. We sent bottling down to Edison, New Jersey. It's where William Grant's home office is for the U.S., and they can essentially bottle things 10 times faster than we can. So now, what happens in this building is going to be blending and barrel filling. At first glance, it seems like a big empty room, kind of silly, right? Over here, this is where our bottles are being filled. So our blending area is on the opposite side of this wall. So they're going to come down through these pipes, which are attached here, and fill the barrels like so. And these barrels, I believe, okay, so these have all been tipped. These are all empty barrels. These were likely tipped today in the back room over there. In 2012, this is one of the reasons that we're one of the safest distilleries ever now. We had a guy working by himself on the overnight shift, and he was basically doing cook, distillation, fermentation, moving back and forth, and he left the distillation area alone for a little bit too long. The fumes started leaking, and they actually burst a light bulb, which created a massive fireball.
Wow.
150 barrels that had recently been filled were burnt up,
Oh no.
but relatively intact. So
Yep.
it's just the outside was burnt.
Yep.
So you tried the outside instead of the inside.
Exactly. So it actually kind of worked out. We just didn't know if it was rye, bourbon, 4 grain, what have you.
Oh,
So-
rip the labels right off.
Yeah. So they aged them for 2 years, and it came out eventually as our limited edition double char whiskey.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's so
Are they all
cool.
gone?
They're pretty much all gone. Yeah. If you ever see one, pick
Hold
it up.
on to
Yeah,
it.
that's sick.
They were only in 375s.
Okay, so they're
it's a
small
nice,
ones,
slick
huh?
black label.
Yeah.
We never want it to happen again, obviously. But
That's a cool one.
But that is a cool one
That'd be
to.
a cool one. I gotta find one.
Yeah.
you see if you can dig one up. I wouldn't open it. It's like a retirement.
Yeah.
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 And there's a batch or a small bottle from every single batch that we did in 2019. We ran the vodkas, our 2 different vodkas, coffee liqueur, cacao liqueur. Apple brandy was something they did for the staff around Christmas, which is delicious.
What's this Tiffany and
Those are
Company
cool.
one? Yeah, I know.
Let's not get ahead of us.
Okay. Oh, okay. I just, I'm.
I see you locked onto it. Well, this is probably the coolest thing we did last year. Tiffany is starting a menswear line. They chose us to be their single barrel. We went through at least a dozen samples of wax to get this perfect Tiffany
Color,
blue.
yeah.
And they bought the entire single barrel. So what they're doing is they're sending it out to male Instagram influencers.
There you go, Sean, right there.
Are you telling me you're gonna give me one of those?
So that's the thing is these bottles are in here. They belong to Tiffany and
Oh,
Company.
that's so cool.
We can't do anything with them, even if we wanted to use that leftover wax and blend it.
Yeah,
It's not
theirs.
for us. Yeah,
Yep.
it all belongs to them. Everything in this building is going to be baby bourbon. Most of these are organized by which iteration or expression of whiskey they
So
are.
you're still doing the smaller barrels.
Yeah.
This is our last batch of small barrels.
Okay.
Actually. Yep.
So those have been sitting. How long the product's been in that?
These will have hit 2 years. So
Okay.
we just finally last year hit the point where we are officially a straight whiskey across the board. So after these are done, everything across the board will be in a 53 gallon.
Now, is there any reason that you guys don't have them on their side? Is it just from moving them around?
It's
or-
basically just for moving them around.
Okay. Because isn't it more traditional to have them on their side?
Traditionally, yeah. This is where the name Rick House comes from.
Yeah.
It's those ricks. So they'll never rotate up or down, but they will rotate from back to front. So all the old stuff goes all the way in the back, and then we shipped all of this stuff up front. So we're tipping almost every day.
Understood.
So it's so much easier to just have them palletized.
You said you tipped them into the stainless steel squares.
Yes.
And then you pump
and
it.
Filtered through. Yep. This is the final step. This is our barrel graveyard.
Ooh.
Oh wow.
So, yeah, this is everything that's been tipped probably in the last few months. We'll send it out about once a month. Most of them will go to Scotland. The Glenfiddich 14 year is finished in our used bourbon casks. And another big thing is there's a gentleman in Vermont named Al Woods who ages his maple syrup in the baby bourbon barrels.
Okay.
When he's done with those, he sends them back to us.
Yep.
And at the end of every year, we fill them with our Manhattan rye, and that's what becomes our
The maple.
cask.
That's
Gotcha.
like
Yep.
the one bottle I've been kind of
Yeah.
interested in. Well,
Yeah.
not the one, but I don't have the Manhattan rye. I never understood why it was called a Manhattan rye.
2 reasons. One is sort of a reference to, Ralph's first big sale was New York City.
Okay.
And then the more important one to me as a mixologist is that in the renaissance of whiskey that sort of started rising in the early 2000s, everybody was drinking bourbon. And they were drinking bourbon Manhattans and bourbon old fashions because they thought that was the traditional American whiskey. But in the beginning of whiskey in America, it was Manhattan. Or it was rye.
Rye.
Excuse me.
Right.
So Manhattan's originally Manhattan rye.
Right. Okay.
Baby bourbon, our number one. So you are 90% corn, 10% malted barley. Just over a 2-year age stamp.
This is the one we
So,
have,
yeah,
right?
yep.
Yeah.
I feel like my labeling's different, but
Yeah, I feel like
These
ours.
are new.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
We just relabeled these about midway through this year. Yeah.
yeah,
That's a good one.
tastes like exactly what I got.
It's
so
like baby
good.
bourbon.
Yep. It's a good one.
Now this is
But then we know the story of it now.
Yeah. Yep.
where the name is.
Mm-hmm.
So this is our first single barrel baby bourbon for 2020. It'll be a little bit warmer, a couple notes of honeysuckle, a little on the fruitier side, a little less of that peanut finish.
I've never heard peanut described.
I know.
That's one of my biggest notes.
Really?
Yep. Alright, so we're going to move on to the Manhattan Rye. This is probably the most awarded in the lineup. You are going to be the polar opposite end of the spectrum. This is 90% rye, 10% malted barley.
Am I wrong that I get maple right away?
You are not wrong.
Oatmeal cookie.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe that's
From
that
smell.
maple. Maybe
For
that's that
smell.
maple.
Yeah.
For smell.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Heavy on the bacon spice.
Yeah.
That's a good rye.
You're perfect. They're like you're perfect.
See, this is totally my proof range is right in there.
It's got a little bite, but
Yep.
it mellows out quick.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Final one is the maple cast rye. So again, no added syrup, just finished in a barrel that has been cured with maple syrup. We are an adult maple whiskey.
It's different than those. It's like silkier for some reason.
Yeah. That small addition of maple definitely it's not.
It doesn't
you don't
hit you
taste maple as much, but you get that. It
Yeah.
smooths it out quite a bit.
That's good too. It's sweet, but I don't feel like I get a ton of maple syrup in it.
Right. You're not gonna.
Yeah.
Just more on the nose than on the
Yeah.
palate.
It's a rye too.
Yeah.
It's a rye.
Yeah.
This is kind of probably my favorite old fashioned of the bunch.
Is
It's
it?
got that rye body, but a little bit extra
I can see that.
sweetness to
Yeah, I
kind
can
of
see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good one too. So this is bourbon. And there's another kitty over here whose name is Rye. There's Rye. Here's all their products. Here's that Manhattan Rye whiskey, which is probably our favorite that we tasted tonight. So we just finished our tour here at Tuthilltown Distillery, and they're actually just setting up right now for the Women Who Whiskey bottle release. And so we're just going to take a quick peek at what they have. They bought a barrel and they released their own bottle. So we'll just do a quick little overview and then we're going to head out. So they have their event set up here in the tasting room. A little spread with some hors d'oeuvres. We're doing drinks. This is their barrel. Alright guys, so we wanted to do a quick recap of our visit at Tuthilltown Distillery.
Yeah.
We came home with a couple bottles. We got the Women Who Whiskey bottle, which was a really cool one. This is one of their, like you saw, their
Single barrel.
single barrels.
Yep.
And then we also came home with the Manhattan Rye, which was the one that we both really liked that we don't have, so we're super excited to try these
Yeah, it should
out
be
with some
fun
drinks
to,
at home. I don't think we're going to open this one though.
I don't think so. I don't really want to open it. It's too pretty of a bottle to
Yeah,
open.
I think so too.
And it's kind of got it's a cool
collectible one.
collectible. I think the organization is pretty cool, and with having so many chapters all over the place, it was cool to meet the one chapter that's closest to us.
Yeah,
which
for
is
sure.
which is cool.
Yep. So overall, we had a really good trip down to Tuthilltown. It was a long ride down in bad weather, but thank goodness we ended up staying overnight, so it kind of helped the drive. But the distillery was nice.
Yeah, it's nice. It's more modern than what I thought it was going to be, because they've since been bought out, so they have a lot more modern equipment. It's a big facility. The start of it was pretty cool, hearing how it all started out, where they get the name Baby Bourbon, things like that were really cool. But yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, I thought so too. Thank you, Tuthilltown, for having us out. We really enjoyed our visit. And thank you to Nick, who was our tour guide.
And our tasting guide.
And
it was a pleasure. We got to meet the, he's an employee now, but the owner, talked to him for a few minutes. And
the original owner.
The original owner. It was cool. Very cold, but it was cool.
It was a cold day. Anyhow, guys, thank you for watching. Make sure you stick around for more videos to come. We have another distillery coming up this coming week. I'm super excited about this one. This one's going to be Cooperstown Distilling. We're going to go check them out. And we'll see you guys again. Make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Subscribe to our channel. Turn on the little notifications bell so you're notified whenever we post a new video.
And head on over to Instagram and follow myself, Wicked Bourbon Kid, and Erica.
Yeah, I have a new Instagram now, Bourbon Brunette. What is it called?
It's the behind the scenes.
It's kind of like the behind the scenes of his page. But I also have the Erica and the ADK as well for like my regular stuff. So if you're interested in Hudson Whiskey, I will also put their link in the description below. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Take care.